Hey Saucies. So I just want to get on here and talk quickly about my experiences growing up with a narcissistic mother. Um, I don't really like to get on here and talk too much about my personal experiences growing up, but I've been journaling a lot recently or lately and found that when I can express my feelings, it's very therapeutic and helpful. My personal story can be helpful to a lot of exoticals who go through this, and even men and women who are not exoticals, because this affects men and women both alike. So I really should have entitled this video Narcissistic Parents, because they both kind of were, my mom and my dad. And so this is just some of the experiences that I had growing up with narcissistic parents. So for one thing, my parents, when I was very little, of course, they loved me very much. They loved bombed the hell out of me because I was their baby, and they were proud of me as being their child, which is something that's natural. I wouldn't look at it as love bombing, but I mean, they were proud of me. However, when I started to grow up a little bit, maybe when I was about 9 or 10, I started to develop. My body was changing. I developed curves and a little shape, and I was very pretty. I was very satisfied with how I looked. I thought I was very pretty, and I would get a lot of unwanted attention from grown men and attention from boys. I was very shy. I was very withdrawn. I didn't know how or like what to do with that attention. So instead of my parents did protect me kind of from grown men and stuff like that, but my mother resented me for that at the same time. And I don't want to reduce this whole situation down to just strictly based on looks and jealousies and stuff like that, but that was one of the things that stood out to me when I was very, very young, is that I noticed that my mother exhibited some feelings of jealousy towards me. As a child, I remember that, and she didn't really hide it too well. Even if she tried to hide it, she did a horrible job of it. She resented me for the attention that I got from men and from boys, and she would be very angry with me, and she would make little comments like I was trying to look cute when I wanted to polish my nails or wear earrings or do my hair. I noticed that when my mother did my hair, because as I got older, I didn't want to do the ponytails and barrettes thing. I wanted to do more grown-up styles. So because I'm a Gen Xer, so back in those days, the 80s, the 90s, relaxers was a thing, and straight styles were more of a thing back then. So when my mother did my hair, I noticed that she would cut off a lot more than what she needed to cut off. She said she was clipping my ends, but she would cut off inches, and it would be uneven and stuff. And I would get very, very angry with her. I also noticed that first thing she did when we were very young, because she did it to my brother and my youngest siblings too, she socially isolated us. She took us out of school at a time and she decided to homeschool us at a time when homeschooling was not heard of. And there was no ruling for or against it as far as the law went. So she just got away with it. So when you eliminate school from a child's life out of the equation, you have no reason to, want to do your hair or want to wear makeup or want to put on cute outfits, because you are home 24/7. And she was the main one that I was around because my dad was at work most of the time, and she was a full-time mom and housewife and stuff like that. So she was able to kind of be home with us and I guess manipulate me in a lot of ways. She would Like, I really love my mother. So like I said in a previous video, my sister and brother, the youngest two, are developmentally disabled people. They have autism. So they were delayed in their development, socially and otherwise. So it was a lot of work taking care of them. So I noticed that my mother needed help, and so I was pretty much her main helper. I would do bottles and diapers and wash clothes. I would clean the house, and I did these things because I loved my mother and I wanted to help her, and I had, good intentions behind it. But also I thought that if I helped her and cleaned the house and did things, she would be happy with me, and that I could get her love. And that she wouldn't hate me so much. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't want to get too emotional, but it basically backfired. My mother actually started to look at my cleaning the house, taking care of the kids for her, doing a lot of things that she was supposed to do, because she suffered from postpartum when my youngest brother was born. So I guess she had like depression paralysis, I guess, in my mind. So I did more and more and more trying to seek her validation, and I never got it, because the more I did for her, the more she thought I was stepping on her toes, and she hated me even more. She ended up telling my father, because my dad worked all the time, he wasn't home. So she would tell him that I was basically trying to take over the house and take her spot, and stuff like that. So my dad, all the little affectionate pats on the head and him calling me his little Tweety bird, and all of the affection that I got from my dad, it started to change. And my dad started to resent me, because my mom, I guess she would have private talks with my dad about me, and kind of made me the villain, pretty much. So nothing I really did worked or mattered, even though I love my mother and my father very, very much, and I loved them until they took their last breath. I'm working on now as an adult, trying to forgive them for that, even though they're gone now. I really could not identify what this was. I didn't know that's what this was. This was narcissistic personality disorder. So they started out by isolating us, and basically I would catch my mother glaring at me with this hateful glare. She would just stare at me. And growing up, I had comprehension problems, and I really didn't understand a lot of things that I was reading. And my mother, being my teacher, because she homeschooled us, she did not have a clue on how to help me with my comprehension issues. Either she didn't have a clue, or she didn't care to, because of her jealousy towards me. So one day I noticed that when she took us to the grocery store, my mom would let my brother or me run into the grocery store, and she would give us this long list of groceries to get. And she gave me like maybe $50 or $100. And she told me basically, like, don't mess up her change, get the right change. And at the time, I was probably about 9 or 10 years old, way too old really at that point in my life to not know how to calculate my change. But she took me out of school. So I asked her, well, how do you know, like, how do you calculate the change? How do you figure out how much change you're getting? And instead of her telling me, well, it's just simple subtraction, she said, well, I use my multiplication, my division, my addition, and my subtraction skills, and I figure it out. So she withheld information. She withheld information that I needed to, not only for that one particular experience, but I needed for life, pretty much. So I basically had to work through my comprehension problems and finish educating myself and figuring things out myself years later in my adult life. I really had to rely on my spirituality. My dad, he taught us basically scriptures and the Bible because we grew up Christian. So he he had a way where he basically memorized the Bible pretty much, where he could like refer to scriptures whenever he wanted to illustrate his point. So he put the seed or planted that seed of Christianity in us. So by me being isolated socially because I wasn't in school, now I'm being isolated from my dad. And also my mom would complain to my siblings, to my brother. So whenever she would do things like glare at me or cut my hair off and I would react, she would tell my brother that I was being disrespectful to her, and that I was unable to receive criticism. I couldn't take criticism. Like, we would be all getting together. We would all get together, like watch a family movie. And by me having comprehension issues at the time, I didn't understand what was going on in the movie. So when I would ask her what's happening, what's going on in the movie, they were really enjoying it. And I wanted to know so I can enjoy it too. And that would be when my mother and my brother, if they had to pause the movie and like explain things to me, sometimes I got it, sometimes I didn't. They would make little gestures, body language, faces, blow their breath, roll their eyes, basically in so many words telling me that I was dumb, basically saying that you're dumb. And so when I would react to that by crying or getting upset, walking away, going to my room, slamming the door, I was being disrespectful. I can't take criticism. That was what it was, and that's how she saw it, and that's how she labeled me to the rest of my family. So now I'm being isolated from my brother. And my older brother and we have a strained relationship to this day, because my brother was actually my mom and dad's favorite. They chose favorites. So my youngest siblings, the two that have the developmental disabilities, and my older brother that my mom would express her, tell him that I was disrespectful. That brother, to this day, he still resents me for being quote unquote disrespectful to our parents. So we have a strained relationship. There are 6 of us all together. So I have 2 older siblings, a boy and a girl, and then my brother and me, and then my youngest 2 siblings who are developmentally disabled. The brother that was in the set with me, that's closest to me, to my age, and my 2 youngest siblings are their favorites, and myself and my 2 older siblings are not favorites of theirs, because we always called them out on their bullshit. Because my dad planted the seed of Christianity in us early, some of us pursued that and others didn't. I am very strong in my faith, so I end up having to pray away my comprehension issues when I got older. And I did notice at the time too, that my mother would often come and like brag to me about other people's children and their accomplishments and what they were able to achieve. They got this, so-and-so's daughter or so-and-so's son got their degree, and they're very smart, and they're very this, and they're very that. And I would tell my mother things like, well, you are my teacher. You don't have anything to do with that person's child. They raised their children with the love and support that they needed to raise their children with, and made sure that they went to college and got their degrees. What are you doing for me? You haven't done that for me. So of course, quite naturally, I would not have a degree at this age, because you did not put the proper resources in place for me to graduate on time or for me to pursue a college degree. So why are you bragging to me about things like that, or other people's children? And this was when I got to be older. I found my voice through my faith and the courage to stand up to my mother and my father. I also finished high school on my own, and at a older age, I obtained a degree in accounting. So I had to figure life out by myself pretty much, and to learn what I know by myself. But I did grow up isolated, and it's still a lot of psychological things that I have to overcome, and I'm working on first identifying what they are, because I do notice that there is a lot of psychological scars left from that. relationship, and my turbulent childhood. Another thing I noticed too is that my parents, both by them withholding validation. They would never tell me good job. They would never give me praises on anything I did. Anything I did for them, they turned it around and made it seem as if I was doing it out of some other ulterior motive other than what it was. My sister and brother and I were very close. The youngest two developmentally disabled siblings were very close. So I noticed that when we were growing up, they would listen to me a lot. So I would like get them on a good sleeping schedule so that because my mom was like biologically trained pretty much to fall asleep at like 9 o'clock at night, and she couldn't stay up with them. So I worked with them and got them on a decent sleeping schedule. I got them to where they were putting their toys away and their games away at a certain time, and we would all go to bed. That way my mom got the sleep that she needed. And she resented me because they listened to her they listened to me more than they did her. So that was a problem. I never got the validation that I needed from her. So I noticed as an adult, I would bury myself into like achievements, and I would like try to overachieve because after I got my degree in accounting, I went on and got I'm a first responder now. And I got a license in EMS pretty much. So I just keep trying to make achievements and trying to, I guess, validate myself through, now I'm a content creator, and I'm journaling and possibly working on publishing some things in my childhood, about my childhood experience, in maybe form of a book or something. So I noticed these things about myself. Also, in addition to burying myself in achievements, excuse me, I also have isolated myself. I isolated myself from, I continued to isolate myself. As when I was growing up, I was never around any of my cousins, my uncles, my aunts, and so that now when we're adults, they would talk about all their experiences and the sleepovers and the things that they did and the fun things that they did, and I was not a part of that. And I feel bad sometimes because I was never close to them, and now I just continue to isolate myself now to where I'm afraid to connect with them because I'm feeling like, well, they're just going to hate me. They're not going to like me. And I have preconceived notions and stuff like that. So it's a lot of things that I have to still work out from my childhood. So yeah, Sauce is being vulnerable today. There's some things I just really needed to get off my chest. But the most important thing to me is that I know my story can help other people. Help other exoticals and even people who are not a part of the exotical community that can actually identify and relate to what I'm talking about, because prior to my adulthood, I really didn't think that it was possible for parents to be jealous of their kids. I really didn't. I thought that that was just something I experienced, so I kind of kept quiet about it. But now I'm seeing more and more stories by exoticals, told by exoticals, and people in general who are not a part of this community talking about this. And so I am a little bit more brave now to share some of the things that I experienced, and still the things that carried over into my adulthood that I'm still dealing with. And yeah, another good thing too is that I'm very, very close to one of my cousins, and we've been close since she was very young. And she told me recently that she's always looked up to me, and that she always admired me for my resilience and the things that I've been through, and that I was able to still come out on top, kind of. She's looking at the external achievements, me getting a degree in EMS license, and buying a beautiful home. So I'm a Gen Xer, so I feel like these things are normal. But she recently told me that she's always looked up to me, and she always tried to follow in my footsteps, and that meant a lot. So I felt as though as if I could, like, if I can inspire her, then I can inspire other younger women too, and let them know that it's okay. You will overcome that once you start to identify what certain obstacles and setbacks are. So that's why I'm a big advocate for therapy and journaling and self-reflection. And now I am an adult, I'm starting to wonder, because I consider myself to be an introvert, but I'm starting to wonder if that's true. Maybe the social isolation made me an introvert when I'm really not supposed to be one. I'm not sure. But yeah, so that's part of who I am. That's part of my story. Hopefully this will resonate with somebody. Somebody can hear it and it will resonate with you. And I encourage you, whether you're an part of the exotical community or not, to please email me at exoticalsauce@gmail.com with your story times. Because if you email me, I will put them on the channel. You can let me know if it's okay for me to put it on the channel or not, if you want to share it or not. But I think that this is a form of honesty and bravery and therapy, and it's very therapeutic for me to be able to open up and share some parts of me so that you can get to know me better as a content creator. And hopefully some things will resonate and it will inspire and foster some healing. So I encourage that. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I really appreciate you guys, and I thank you for listening. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to hear more from Exotical Sauce. Hit the notification button so that every time I upload a new video, you will be able to see it. But yeah, I just encourage anybody to seek therapy and journal and look within and pull out their traumas, because there's one thing about journaling, it helps you to identify things. It helps you to get, write those things down on paper. And actually my younger cousin is the one that encouraged me to do that. So I learn from younger people. As a Gen Xer, I'm learning a lot from the younger exoticals, and I really thank God for this community, because I didn't have this when I was growing up. So I am really grateful for being a part of a community with so many strong, resilient, and very intelligent, bright young women that are able to vocalize and identify what the human and social interactions are and how they affect your psyche as a person, and tie in phenotype and race and skin tone in with that. So I'm very grateful to this community, and I'm grateful to all of you, my subscribers, and everyone who cares enough to hear what Exotical Sauce has to say. So thank you again for listening, and I will talk to you guys next time.